I think Son of Brando is the best thing I've ever come up with. Son of Brando, Marlon Brando, and the cleaning lady, my mother. It's the best character I ever came up with. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking about just changing my name legally and then going around and collecting drinks for free. Hang out with some broads. Finally.
You guys remember last year I did Son of Brando? I think it was great. I really do. I think it was one of the greatest things that I actually came up with. I'm in my car. It is the 8th of January. No, it's the 7th. And it's freezing outside. The wind chill is probably bringing it down to the 30s, maybe even. I'm really tired and exhausted. I'm frozen to the bone. The clothes that I put on are freezing cold, so I put on cold clothes. I put on cold clothes. And right now, I can't do any physical writing because I had to make some adjustments to the pay schedule. I get bennies now, and there's a program I have to buy. And I was trying some new things out with a debit card, and needless to say, it cost me like $20 just to figure this stuff out. Like, ouch. Whatever. Live and learn, money burn. Nobody cares anyway. So I'm still in West Hollywood. Still in my car. This is where I sleep during the day. I try to get things done as much as possible. I got to go incrementally to make sure, I still got my bennies. That's really it. Son of Brando returns very soon. So look, I'm trying to get the full. You can't. You could just get the spot on my face,
Which I think is very, it's very apocalypse now.
I was thinking about that the other day. I got a show for you guys, so I got a full episode hopefully coming soon. And that's about it. I don't feel like holding this thing up. I mean, I like talking, but I have to hold this thing up, and, I'd rather just do a full-on episode. I'm sitting here in my car. It's just so cold. It's about 8 o'clock at night. I pushed it and stayed out late. It's freezing. And this morning, I get up at twilight. I wake up throughout the night, and while I might not be subjected to the actual wind, the temperature is the same, So you go by temperature, and my arm outside of my... Oh, that's a good bounce of the light. My arm is like freezing, right? See how the light bounces off that? We used to use those when we used to shoot live on film. Still use it, obviously, on video. Right. To bounce the light off. Yeah, it's funny. I think about New York a lot. I watch The Sopranos endlessly. There's a channel. It's called Sirius, C-E-E, Rios. The rest is spelled the same, but it's a C-E-E. And it's great because they'll give you each character's, every scene that character's in, like these super minor characters, right? And also David Mamet is on Bill Maher, which is really great. For a change, at least he got somebody decent on. And in that episode, Bill Maher, he lit the joint, but he really didn't smoke it. He poured himself a drink, and he really didn't drink it. So he was very cogent during most of it. I got most of the way through it. I gotta hopefully finish it tomorrow, this interview. So I'll be doing another episode about Linoleum Blown Apart, what I'm writing, the novel, which is a novelization to a television series. And so I'll be talking about, also I'll be talking about Frank Lucas. Frank Lucas was the Denzel character in American Gangster. And Denzel Washington's character is Frank Lucas. And I saw an interview with Frank Lucas, and he was tapped by MI5. He was given the blessings of MI5. He said it himself. He said that there was a 007 type. What else is he going to call him, of his generation? That was the biggest spy film. You'd say it was a 007. He goes, yeah, he was like Sean Connery. So it must mean he was MI5. Okay? And so he's getting the blessings of MI5, right? So we know that the money for drugs goes to various operations, clandestine operations around the country. I'm also listening to a podcast with a CIA agent talking about he talks about everything, and he's on with his wife, and he's talking about the symbiotic relationship they have with FBI guys. You know, that's what was stressing me. I had these corrupt FBI guys back in Michigan who were allegedly buddies with somebody who thinks he's in a rival band with us or something like that. Fucking... And again, there's no rival bands. There's just bands. And you could either choose to do shows with them or you could choose not to. But it's like they chose not to do shows with us, and it crushed our band, right? Because there's nobody going to see our fucking band except for, right, our wives and girlfriends, right? My sisters came a couple of times. And, I don't want to sit here like this. Hello. Hi. Right? We were, there was no shows. Sorry, we weren't popular enough. But again, this is all the stuff that I'm going to be writing about in my novel. And also I want to talk about Anthony Bourdain. Bourdain, someone did a video. They're like, oh, I know why Bourdain killed himself. And this guy's a fucking total moron. He was never neurologically damaged through a Facebook app like I was. Like, I know that's what happened. So here's this guy's big take. Anthony Bourdain was in an open relationship with his child's mother. And so during this time, he began seeing Asia Argento. Now, don't forget, she is from Italy, okay, where the real mafia is. Her father, Dario Argento, was a horror film maker of a incredible renown, because I know his name. I knew his name before Mario Bava and people like this. And, they redid one of his films, Suspiria, with a lot of what we would call A-listers. Okay, so Anthony Bourdain is in a relationship with her, and he's in an open relationship with his child's mother. So that means Anthony Bourdain is in an open relationship with whoever the fuck he's in a relationship with. He's not going to self-harm over Asia Argento or anybody else. I know that for a fact. They ran the suicide op on me, and it came through social media. This is why Elon Musk fired 70% of the people, 70 to 80% of the people who worked at Twitter. He's like, you don't need that many people to run it, and they're running it on open source. I'm not saying that Elon Musk is a fucking hero, but I'm telling you that's what he did. He fired many people who had jobs targeting individuals. You get targeted through an algorithm, and that's what they did to me. My wife knows about this, and my drummer for the grievance committee knew about this. They both knew about this because they're, basically rats. They run with police officers. They're pieces of shit. I was supposed to commit suicide, and then they ran around pretending like they were saving me. I thought I was having a brain aneurysm. I told people that. People that I told it to, they knew that I wasn't having a brain aneurysm. So instead of telling me, hey, Gordon, no, they're running ops through an app, they went ahead and let me believe it, including my wife, who I'm still legally married to. Just very bizarre. They expected me to commit suicide. That's what they wanted. And they just were harassing me. They just recently stopped LARPing me. So I was talking about that earlier on my show. And so Anthony Bourdain would never commit suicide over a person who he's in an open relationship with, right? And when this affects your mood, right? The social media platform is affecting his mood. So maybe it's appeared as though he was more in love with her than he actually was, because it affects your hormones. And that's what they did. They crushed my hormones to the extent that it was no different than a grade school girl, female. So I'm not putting down grade school females, but you're a little bit more emotional. Again, I think anyone in grade school might be a little bit more emotional, subject to tantrums, subject to stressors. That's what they did to me. They did it nonstop for years. I even had one of these Fed rat pieces of trash follow me out. He followed me all the way. I left Michigan, and I was about, I don't know, somewhere around past Chicago. He came rolling up on me. Hey, man, he starts talking to me, LARPing me. Fucking Fed rat, piece of trash, brown Crown Vic, New York plates, just the usual boring tattoos, fucking jack off bullshit. So, and then there was the story of Kurt Cobain. I do know how Kurt Cobain died. They put dope in his food. Okay? I would never say, I don't actually believe that his wife had much to do with it. A lot of people do, because you go by who's closest to them. But just like, it's like, okay, you got the biggest band in the world and you're not following the guy. I mean, this is just ridiculous. At one of the bars, they hire private security at the bar by the park. You don't think a record company isn't going to hire private security? You know how cheap those motherfuckers are? And they're going to follow the guy? You think Geffen Records is going to allow their number one hit maker to just leave a rehab? Okay, so his wife didn't have anything to do with it. But the powers that are in place know what to do at the time. You don't have to tell anybody anything. That's why when you talk to people, like I would talk to somebody about my case, they'll be like, where's your evidence? Where's your evidence? It's called circumstantial evidence until you can build a case, until you can continue to work in that direction, collecting evidence, right? Just like the fake phonies in the Warren Tattoo bitch crew who answer to sissies whose mommies writes for the fucking paper, took a sample of the sweat off of the bottom of my feet when I took my boots off. They wiped the floor behind me and got a sample of I'm like, what the fuck, dude? It's just like, it's all intimidation, and people like my wife and her lummox brother know all about this. That's what they do. They're pieces of trash. They use PD, plausible deniability. They're just like, oh, the biggest dumb look on their face. My drummer and my wife both had it, trying to run ops on me to get me to commit suicide. I write about suicide. I talk about it, because I'm very, very poetic. And, a lot of troubadours and writers and scribes and people like that, wax philosophic like that. Like, what are we doing here? You have to have an existential moment. You can't just be a materialist. And sadly, most people are. But Kurt Cobain was killed by the food that he ate, because I guarantee the police never bothered to check the garbage. You look in the garbage, you see some food wrappers. You're like, well, yeah, he ordered some takeout. Okay? So you have a friend coming over, and that's why the bass player from Hole also died, because Kurt Cobain and her were going to hook up and form a band. Well, how at that point in time, you have a monetary risk. What if this is a total fail? Because let me tell you something. In Utero, in my opinion, was a garbage record. It's not that I didn't like it. There's no melody there. It's all discordant. And, just the songs are really just awful. They sound depressing. They're reflecting of the lyricist and the prime mover at the time, right? So if he's depressed, the songs are depressing. And it was a garbage record. So what are you going to do? Are you going to allow him to, leave his wife and kid and then try to start another band with the bass player from Hole, possibly? Right? It's like, why take that risk? You know what I mean? And I got to be honest, I heard Dave Grohl's demo, and my demo is better. I'm a better songwriter. I was a better songwriter at the time. I'm not taking anything away from him because he played a different style of music. He was trying to be Dinosaur Jr. and he just wasn't good enough. I wasn't trying to be Green Day. They never existed. I wasn't trying to be Rancid. They didn't exist, guys. They did, obviously, but I didn't know about them. I'm a kid from Detroit. I'm playing the exact same type of music, okay? It wasn't that far off, kind of similar to Social Distortion, but Social Distortion have a really generic sound. And I didn't want that generic sound. I worked really hard. My demo from 1991 is better than Dave Grohl's from 1992. I listened to it. Well, he did one demo in 92, and I think he did the other demo, his main demo, in 95 or something like that. I don't know. Right? But, my neck is getting a little crooked. I didn't want to just come straight down on the top of my head. I want to give a little side view, right? So somebody came over and brought him food, and the food was tainted with dope, because you're not going to taste it, and you're going to be hungry. It's going to be good, probably in a curry or something, obviously, like that. You just mix it right in. You mix it right into the food, and that's it. It'd be enough dope, and you'll never taste it. And within a half an hour, they're dead. And all you have to do is throw the stuff out in the garbage and walk out the door. They put her in the tub. She might have walked to the tub. They found the female bass player from Hole, who died a couple months after Kurt Cobain, the same way. After she swore off doing dope. She knew the place was toxic where she was at in Seattle, and she wanted to get the fuck out of there. And so she might have went to the tub to be revived. That's how I revived the guy in my apartment. That's why I left New York. A guy OD'd in my apartment. I revived him in the tub, slapping his face until he came back to life. He promptly stole the rest of the cocaine. I mean, this was just insane to me. And I was like, I got to get the fuck out of here, if even for a while. It was the same thing when I moved to Detroit. I moved to New York from Detroit. I didn't move to New York. I went to visit my sister. That's what I did there. So there was no plan to move there. I needed to move to Chicago, and I regret not moving to Chicago, but David Mamet's theater company was in New York. And there was other opportunities in New York. Like I said, no one can top my resume as an actor in New York. Nobody. Not one person. And it's pretty shameful what my wife pulled. Just really, truly sad. We're at the end of our life. And she, and again, these materialist, obsequious Philistines don't get it. They'll never get it. You don't shit down somebody's throat who helped you through a hard time. I told you I helped her when her mother was dying. And nobody in her family, especially her brother, couldn't even be around. It took him 3 years. It took them 3 years, and that's around the time I believe she started torturing me because his daughter made a snide remark to me when I was in Florida. I moved down to Florida in good faith. I didn't want to stay in New York. They're going around spray painting cats. Not even spray paint. If it was spray paint, it'd be like kind of interesting. They used rollers. They used rolling paint and rolled cash for smells in block letters everywhere. And that was meant for me. It was a humiliation ritual. I put up with that. My wife knew 100% about it. 100%. That's all these phonies do is gossip and shit talk other people who actually have talent because they don't have any. They don't know what talent is because they hadn't read about it in the newspaper. The newspaper has to tell them because they're a Philistine what's talented, what's good, what to buy. They can't figure it out on their own. Okay? Now, if you want to go around calling these people NPCs, I wouldn't disagree with that. But what I'm hard-pressed against is dehumanifying people. Is that a word? Right? Dehumanizing people. Okay? I'm against that for obvious reasons. I mean, it's like it's really ridiculous. If you had an ethnic minority in your community, they have a smattering of restaurants, they have banquet halls where they hold their weddings and all this kind of stuff, you wouldn't sit there and say that they're do a book about the what is it called? The learning curve, the bell. I mean, this is just ridiculous. And the fact that, a lot of people had internalized all this misinformation about their ethnicity, you never hear that brought up, ever. You never hear about the fact that if someone is on welfare, the father cannot be in the home legally. He's not allowed to be. And then you want to go to someplace like fatherhood.gov for them to tell you how to be a father when they're the ones taking the father out of the home, when they're on welfare, when you need the father the most. Right? So slowly over time, what do you think? Your dad's going to stay in the same neighborhood? Not usually. They have to go somewhere and find opportunity. Right? So, I mean, everything we think to know is true is not. And through accelerationism, I am telling you that we're not going to wait 40 years to find out that both Ronald Reagan getting shot and John Lennon getting shot were both by the deep state, and they utilized this dumb Catcher in the Rye narrative. It was so stupid to spook the public. How ridiculous, right? But anything to scare the people, right? Anything to scare the people. So I'm not going to wait for that to let you guys know that that's what happened to Bourdain. Okay? This is synthetic manipulation. Synthetic manipulation. That's what they're utilizing. And they've already discovered on one of the Disney, you download this Disney movie, and there is an ELF wave, a low frequency wave. Now, they can do the same thing through your smartphone. That's what they were using. They were using the Facebook app. I had an operative try to ask me what apps I have on my phone. I mean, these guys are so dumb. That's why I never wanted to be a cop, and I never wanted to be a fucking spy. I mean, aside from the time that I wanted to be Mannix, which was really funny that Tarantino put that in his movie, because I used to play Mannix. I told you guys that when I was a kid. I used to specifically play that show. It's like I wouldn't play Rockford Files, even though I watched the Rockford Files. I would play Mannix. Like, I'm Mannix. That's how much I love that show. And he had that beautiful secretary, too. I mean, it's just incredible. But like I said, I never wanted to be a cop because I just kind of knew it was just kind of like, But at the same time, I wanted stories to write about. And I was never afraid of going to jail. When I left New York, it was just because I was burnt out. I had done more than anybody. And nobody can argue that. I mean, it's just incredible, the amount of work that I did. I'd like to, find it, some of it at least. I know it's laughable and it's a joke and I look terrible and it's goofy. But that's okay. It's my work. And what people don't understand is you take direction. You do the best you can when you're working in these environments. So I'm hoping to start this television series. I am going to start it. I hope to start it, relatively soon. But I'm not going to look to Napoleon by Ridley Scott as anything. It's not Stanley Kubrick's version. It's not any version. It's their own version. And I think they're really effing up. You come to this show for a point of view that you don't get on other channels. I'm not alt-right, and I'm not woke to go broke. It's kind of obvious Napoleon was a fail, and I'm very sorry, but I came up watching River Phoenix. And what else are you going to do? It's his brother. You got to make it a comparison. And I know people are different. But it's really interesting how River Phoenix had his own look about him. And the rest of the children really favor the mother. If you ever take a look at pictures. And they do have their own podcast. The sister has her own podcast. And they did for a while. Anyways. But his performance is severely lackluster, according to all critics. I mean, and the whole notion of him doing things for Josephine is rather ridiculous. I mean, it just negates his early ambition and his early prowess on the field as a general and a marshal. I can't remember the name, his official title. It's in my notes. Everything's in my notes. I'm tired of taking notes. I want to get back to writing. I had a major financial setback that set me back for 3 months, guys. On top of eating off the EBT menu. On top of that. Right? So it's not just about me eating off the EBT menu. Some other things happen. I tried to use a debit card, like a bank account, a prepaid debit. And on some things it works and most things it doesn't. It cost me, like I said, $20 to figure all this out. And then by then I'm just like, well, fuck it. I got to get my money off that thing. But anyway, so blah, blah, blah. You don't want to hear about my money woes. Like I said, I still live in my car. I'm in West Hollywood. And I want to thank you very much for watching my show. I appreciate it more than you'll ever know.